Hello, Dr. Mark Dailey here. We're going to continue our video series on food sensitivities, and we're answering the question, why do I crave foods which I'm sensitive to? It's not clear why we often crave foods to which we're sensitive, but several theories have been proposed to help explain why this occurs. And some of them are quite convoluted, don't really know how valid they are, but you've come up with some great thinkers and they've put some ideas together. Some of them are a little complex, so forgive me. We're going to talk about perhaps a real simple theory that may be every bit as applicable as some of these more complex. But some researchers suggest that our bodies can become addicted to chemical messengers such as histamines and cortisols, which are secreted by the immune cells in response to allergens in the body. It's hypothesized that while eating foods to which you are allergic can cause a rash or sneezing, the body may also experience a soothing response from the presence of the chemical messengers, increasing the desire to eat more of that food. Another theory proposed by a well-known immunologist is based on the science of how antibodies, which are made by your immune system, and antigens, which are the bad guy or the perceived bad guy, connect or bind to each other. Antibodies can bind to more than one site on an allergen in the food. Therefore, when there is very little antigen but a large number of antibodies present, the antibodies will become cross-linked and make large complexes. It's theorized that these large complexes can cause an increase in symptoms. So, in this theory, symptoms are related to a large number of antibodies, which are, again, made by the immune system, in relation to the antigens, which are the bad guy or the perceived bad guy, rather than caused by the number of antigens. In fact, it's suggested that if you eat more of the antigen, you can decrease the number of antibody complexes by allowing each antibody to bind to an antigen rather than forming the large complex, thereby reducing the number of symptoms. Now, how complex is that? Normal metabolism works to remove the food antigens, and as the ratio of antibodies to antigens begin to rise, symptoms will begin to increase. Craving and addiction to food may be the result of the body's attempt to increase the number of antigens present and preventing the formation of large antibody complexes that are associated with an increased number of symptoms. Now, succumbing to food cravings to help alleviate symptoms is the beginning of a cycle of short-term relief from symptoms and cravings of the food as symptoms will increase. This yo-yo effect is believed by some allergy specialists to be the reason why people who stop eating the foods to which they're allergic to, like going on the elimination or avoidance diet, first go through several days when they feel worse before they start feeling much better. Many of you watching this video series have also gone through that, but the elimination diet is instrumental in avoiding allergic reactions to food and is, without question, the way to break the cycle of addiction. The avoidance diet allows the body to completely remove the antigen, which is the bad guy, providing no reason for the formation of the antibodies, which will then also disappear. Clinicians suggest this is why some people can actually go back to eating a food which they were once allergic to after a year or two of avoiding the food. Occasionally, a person will experience more symptoms for the first several days to a week when beginning the allergy avoidance diet, which many of you have already experienced. While some clinicians believe this is caused by the cross-link of antibodies as explained a moment ago, others believe it's because the body is starting to mobilize toxins, which is probably partially both, that had been stored in fat tissues and other storage sites in the body, like the liver. Whatever the reason, it's important to remain on the allergy avoidance or the elimination diet, even though symptoms may appear to be increasing. After staying on the diet for several weeks, you should begin to feel relief from the symptoms and generally feel much, much better. Now let me propose something that's very simple. Think about this. If you have leaky gut syndrome, remember what we said. Leaky gut syndrome is basically when food that shouldn't get from the gut to the blood gets from the gut to the blood stream. So the chances are the foods you eat the most frequently will be the ones that get from the gut into the blood in larger than normal particles, causing this immune reaction. So for instance, if you love tomatoes, you always eat tomatoes, chances are that that will be a food that gets from the gut to the blood in larger than normal particles, causing this immune reaction. So the foods you eat the most are most likely the foods that are going to eventually be part of this food sensitivity. So there are many theories. I think that that's very simple, and I think that probably plays a part in that as well. So again, if you sat down and wrote the foods that you enjoy the most or that you eat the most frequently, those will most likely be the foods that you have the greatest sensitivity to. I'm sorry about that, but it's often the case. In our next program, or our next video series, we're going to talk about food sensitivities and aging and special consideration with food allergies in infants and children. So look forward to getting that. Until then, I wish you the very best of health. Thank you so much for your time and attention. God bless.